Shall we start, Mataji? Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining. And today we have Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Today we have the third canto, 9th chapter summary of Srimad Bhagavatam by Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for giving us your very valuable time today and your wonderful association. Please go ahead, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very, very happy to be continuing Srimad Bhagavatam. So today, as announced, we will be continuing with Canto 3, and this is Chapter 9. So I believe you all must be aware of what happened in the previous session. In the previous session, we know that Brahma was created by Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So this chapter is titled The Prayer by Brahma to Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So that is what we will be discussing today. These are prayers. Generally, prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam are very difficult for us to pass by because they are generally very philosophical and technical. But when we try to read these prayers or hear these prayers in the mood of the devotee who has offered the prayers, it gets more relishable. Meaning, if we can put ourselves in the shoes of Lord Brahma and see the Lord from Brahma's point of view, then we will be able to relate to these prayers. The same thing applies to any devotee who's offering prayers. Prayers are very relative. So if Prahalad is offering prayers, it is a small boy of 5 years old who was born in a demoniac family surrounded by demons offering prayers to the Lord. So the prayers that he's offering will reflect a particular mode. If Dhruva Maharaj is offering prayers, it reflects his mood. If the Prachetas are offering prayers, they are great sages. It reflects their understanding, their mode. Similarly, here we are going to see Brahma, who was the only created living entity offering prayers to the creator who created him. So in that mood, when we see these prayers, it becomes extremely relishable. So having said that, we'll get started with our prayers. Om Ajnanathimirantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yadkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. My humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas on the call. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you all so much. Let me first summarize what happened in the third canto so far. So we are in the 10th chapter of the third canto. This entire third canto revolves around the conversation between two personalities. Anyone would like to tell me who they both are? Predominantly, two people are talking, at least in these few chapters. Any guesses? One is
Mataji, Vidurji and Maitreya.
Correct, Vidura and Maitreya. Very nice. Thank you so much, Mataji. So predominantly, the third canto begins off with the Maitreya and Vidura Samvad. And you all know how Vidura first meets Uddhava, and then Uddhava is somewhat hesitant to speak because of etiquette reasons. And then he directs him to Maitreya. And then Maitreya meets Vidura. And then Vidura has so many questions to Maitreya. So initially, Vidura begins asking different questions in the 7th chapter about the Jiva and Ishvara. Then further, after asking those questions, and Maitreya attempts to answer those questions, he has immediate follow-up questions. So he asks many questions about the secondary creation, how it took place, how the world was created. At that time, when Maitreya begins to answer about Visarga or the secondary creation by Brahma, he first describes the disciplic succession of the Bhagavatam that he had heard. Now, you all know Srimad Bhagavatam has many disciplic successions. For example, I'll just give you one example. You can either call it disciplic succession or you can call it a layer of discussion, or however you, or a Guru Sishya Samvad, you can name it anything. Just like how Shukdev Goswami was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, or just like how Shaunakadi Rishis, the sages of Naimisharanya, heard from Suta Goswami. Similarly, there is another layer in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in this layer is Maitreya. So in the previous chapter, around the 8th or the 9th chapter, you must have heard about this particular disciplic succession of the Srimad Bhagavatam. How was it received? It was received through the disciplic succession of the 4 Kumaras. From the 4 Kumaras, it was handed down eventually to Parashara Muni, and from Parashara Muni, Maitreya Rishi receives the knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He has described the disciplic succession in the previous chapter. So here Maitreya is telling that he has heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in that he had heard about the reawakening of creation after Brahma's creation, meaning Brahma creates and this creation happens in a cyclic manner. So every time there is a creation, after some time there is an annihilation, again there is a creation. So the reawakening process begins with the waking up of Mahavishnu. Waking up of Mahavishnu, then Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and from Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, the manifestation of Brahma. So Maitreya, at this point in time, he wanted to describe the process of creation from the point of creation of Brahma. So that is what we saw in the previous chapter. In the previous chapter, we saw how Brahma was manifested from the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Once Brahma was manifested from the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, Brahma had the beautiful darshan of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. It is so nicely described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this extraordinary beauty of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu that he had darshan of. Once he had darshan of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, in this chapter, we will see Brahma's prayers for creative energy. Why? Because Brahma was created for this purpose. He was hired for this job. So to execute his job, he wanted instructions. He wanted to know how exactly he had to execute the job. For that, he began to offer prayers so that the Lord would give him directions and he would be able to carry out the Lord's order and successfully engage in creation of the entire universe, giving bodies to all the living entities who were waiting to be engaged in their karma or activities. Okay. So here is a quick summary of this entire chapter. The prayers of Brahma, this entire chapter is titled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy or Creative Impetus. How it is divided is that the first 5 verses speak about the Lord's supreme form. Now, Brahma is offering prayers. He has seen the beauty of the Lord. So now that he has relished the beauty of the Lord, when he begins prayers, the first thing he does is he glorifies what he has seen. Just see how intelligently these prayers are classified. So first, he just doesn't, look at the Lord and then starts asking for benedictions. He doesn't directly say, okay, now that I've seen your darshan, I need this, this, this. He doesn't go with a wish list. First, he has taken darshan of the Lord. So He describes in beautiful poetry the Lord's supreme form. How beautiful it is. How the Lord is indeed the supreme knowable object. How he is the origin of all the forms. And he describes in detail his personal form. He talks about how auspicious this form is and how this supreme form actually lives in the heart of all the devotees. All the devotees are continuously relishing the beauty of the supreme form. So in 5 verses, he glorifies the Lord's form. Once he has glorified the Lord's form as a responsible father and as a responsible first citizen of the universe, he thinks about the condition of the conditioned souls who are going to be in this universe, the predicament of the different souls who would be in this universe. What are the suffering they are going to face? So that was the next set of verses where he's expressing there is a problem. Problem is not for me, the problem is for them. So he talks about the conditioned living entities from verses 6 to 10. He talks about how they are misidentifying with their body and suffering within this universe. Then he tells the Lord, my dear Lord, these conditioned living entities, definitely, yes, they are suffering, but there is a solution. I know very well that you reciprocate very nicely with your devotees. It's not that once the conditioned souls are here, they are stuck here in it for eternity. Every living entity is destined to go back to Godhead. You are very merciful. So he begins describing the Lord's merciful nature, how the Lord actually reciprocates with all the devotees. Having said that, he offers his obeisances to the Lord. He understands how this Lord is manifest everywhere in the universe, and he offers his obeisances again and again to the different forms of the Lord. And at the end, he makes his request. He makes his request. What is the request he wants? He wants to do creation properly, secondary creation properly. For that, he needs the mercy of the Lord. So he begs for mercy. He gives a set of requests. He asks the Lord, please fulfill these things so that I'm able to serve you properly. Okay, so this is the overall split up of the prayers of Brahma. But hold on, we are going to go into each of these verses in detail. And the chapter doesn't end here. The chapter also has the Lord's answers to Brahma's prayers. So that is the second half of the discussion. So we'll get started with the first half, which is till verse number 25. So remember, the first section was describing the Lord's supreme form. Why is he describing the Lord's supreme form? Because he had darshan of the Lord. It was so beautiful. When you see the Lord, automatically you want to glorify him. And that is what was happening with Brahma. So how did he glorify the Lord? He told the Lord, my dear Lord, you are indeed the only supreme knowable object. Why am I telling that? Because I underwent so much penance for so many years. For so many years, I was engaged in tapa. I was trying to search out for the source of my creation. How did I come into existence? I was searching out for the source. And finally, after so much penance and after so much long wait, I finally got to know you. It is very unfortunate for people who cannot know you. But by your mercy, I got to know you, and I completely understand that there is nothing comparable to you. People in this material world are engaged with things of this world. They are like crows. Material enjoyment in this universe is like the enjoyment of crows. But the swans, they live in clear waters. These swans are like the people who have understood your glories, and they understand that only you are the supreme object to be understood. Having said that, now Brahma, he talks about the original form of the Lord. The Lord may be the supreme object, but is he formless or does he have a form? For that, Brahma begins to tell, "Oh my Lord, you are always transcendental. You are manifested from your own internal potency. By your own internal potency, you expand into different forms and you come into this universe. Though you come into this universe, you're always free from contamination. You don't get entangled in this universe like all of us. In fact, there is a term that is used by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says this is avarodha rasa or avabodha rasa. Avabodha rasa means that which is very spiritual, that which nullifies anything that is material. So in the verse itself, you would see that Brahma, while offering prayers to Vishnu, he tells Vishnu that you're engaged in avabodha rasa, which means you completely nullify anything that is material. Nothing material can touch you. Then he tells, yes, you come to this universe, you always remain transcendental, but why do you come here? You come here only for the sake of your devotees, because you want to reclaim the conditioned souls. You are looking out to who is actually surrendering to you, and you come for the sake of your devotees. This Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who is the worshipable Lord of Brahma, for Brahma, he is the source or the origin of all the incarnations within the Brahmanda. So just like how we say Krishna is the origin of all the different expansions in the universe and beyond, similarly, for every universe, the source of all the incarnations or the origin of all the incarnations, in one sense, is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, because Brahma's point of view, he's seeing Garbhodakashayi Vishnu as his father. And he understands that anything in the creation is possible only by the mercy of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Then he begins to talk about specifically the personal form of the Lord. He says, oh my Lord, you, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, actually you have many forms. You're present everywhere. But among all these several different forms, like for example, this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he himself manifests as the Virat Rupa. He might be present everywhere, but still better than this impersonal or better than this all expansive form is his personal form. Only a devotee who surrenders in devotion can actually understand the personal form of the Lord. And he says that this form is all auspicious. It bestows auspiciousness unto anyone who takes darshan of this form. And he not only is present as a beautiful form, but this Lord, he lives in the heart of all living entities. What kind of living entities? All the devotees who relish this beautiful form. Devotees, how beautifully Bhagavatam says, it says that devotees smell through the ear holes the aroma of your lotus feet through the Vedic sounds, and they accept this treasure of bhakti. So beautiful. How can you smell the aroma through the ears, through the ear holes? How is that possible? Anybody would like to say, how can you smell the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord through the ears? Is it even possible? Yes, Rama says it is possible. He says it is possible when you hear the descriptions of the Lord through Vedic sounds, when you hear the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord, when you hear the glories of his transcendental, his transcendental qualities, his Nam, Rupa, Guna, Leela. When you hear about all this, automatically you are actually smelling the aroma of his lotus feet through the ear holes that is coming by the potency of the Vedic sounds, which is nothing but glorification of the Lord. This is the treasure of bhakti for all the living entities. So what did he do so far? He glorified the Lord in various ways. Especially he was focusing on the beauty of the Lord. Now he begins to talk about the problem. What is the problem? Yes, living entities have to be created. But for living entities to be here, it is not an easy place. This world is no easy place because the living entities can easily get bewildered in this world. They can be covered by Maya. So now Brahma, being a compassionate father for the upcoming living entities, he begins to say, oh, these living entities, sometimes they do not take shelter of your lotus feet. Why they are not taking shelter of your lotus feet? The people who are not devotees, why they don't take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet? Because they are tormented with this conception of aham mameti. Aham means I, mameti means mine. So all of us in this universe, we are always in anxiety, always worried, because we are tormented by constant thoughts of I and mine. What are we worried about? We are always worried about protecting our body, our friends, our wealth, things that belong to us.
Looks like Mataji got disconnected. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, sorry, I lost connection. I'm back. Yeah. So we were discussing about the predicament of the conditioned soul. So these conditioned souls, they are constantly tormented by different problems because they are thinking in terms of aham mameti, I and mine. What about me? What about my friends? What about my relatives? My bodily identification. So these devotees, when they have so many problems in their mind, how can they think about your beautiful form? However, there are devotees who are surrendered. Now, these devotees who are surrendered are like snakes whose teeth have been removed. So, the fangs of a snake, when it is removed, that snake will not be poisonous. Similarly, devotees are like snakes without teeth because they are surrendered unto you. So, the poison of material existence does not affect them. So Brahma is comparing two types of living entities. He says most of the living entities are always entangled. However, there are some living entities who do take shelter of your lotus feet, and they are like snakes whose teeth have been removed. Now, he told about the living entities, the condition of the living entities who are suffering in these concepts of aham mameti. A question may be asked, why don't they learn to take up devotion? There are two types of people. One set of people are surrendered and they are taking up to devotion. So why don't these people who are suffering, they also take up devotion? For that, Brahma says that actually they are very unfortunate. They have lost all their intelligence. Some of them have even turned against the Lord. They are simply engaging in sense gratification. They actually need the mercy of the devotees who have turned to your lotus feet. The only way these people who are unfortunate, who are not thinking about your form, can make any progress is when they get the mercy of devotees. So, like this, Brahma, he discusses the situation, the predicament of all the people in this universe, and his mind gets very aggrieved. He tells the Lord, oh my Lord, my mind is very worried for all these jivas. They are constantly tormented by the tapatraya. There is hunger, there is thirst, there is anger, desires, so many problems. I'm so worried for them. So this is how Brahma is. He is the real leader. We all talk about leaders in our country and communities. Who is a real leader? A real leader is one who's concerned about his subordinates. That is a real leader. It is not enough if we are just concerned, just expressing our sympathy. That is not enough. You have to do something active. You have to get into the problem and try to help, right? That is a leader. So Brahma, Prabhupada writes all this in the purport. Brahma, his mind was aggrieved. He didn't stop with that. He wanted to do something. He wanted to do something. So he was requesting the Lord, please give us your mercy. We need your mercy very badly. Now Brahma thinks, why am I lamenting for, why are these people lamenting so much? Why is Brahma feeling that he's aggrieved for these people? Brahma tells these people, they are very sad. You know what? Bodily identification is blinding them and they are not able to get out. That is the reason I'm lamenting for their condition. I want them to come out of this terrible, terrible situation. And what are the different frustrations that these people are having? The different frustrations they are having is that they are engaging their senses in distressing work, like we are all doing day in and day out. They are suffering insomnia. They have so many mental speculations. They are not able to make up their mind on anything. And they are frustrated in their plans. They make one plan after the other. In all their plans, they want to be successful, but they are not able to be successful. So like this, they're completely frustrated. And even the so-called jnanis, who are great thinkers, even they are also suffering in samsara. It's not only the materialists who are suffering in this world. Even great jnanis, they are also suffering. Why are they suffering if they are jnanis? Because they are adverse to the Lord's topic. So even they are suffering. So he says all this and he talks about our condition being our representative. Then he tells the Lord, see, this is the situation. Everyone is suffering. But the problem doesn't end there. You are very merciful. You reciprocate with all different kinds of devotees, don't you? He asks Krishna. He asks Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Don't you reciprocate with everyone? You are so merciful. You reside in the hearts of all the devotees who are infused with bhakti. They see you with their ears. We just discussed this point that these two are very beautiful prayers by Brahma, where he talks about devotees. I just read the translation. It's so beautiful. Just relish it. It says, oh my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sounds through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing. Not only can they smell the aroma of your lotus feet, they can also see you through the ears of bona fide hearing. Imagine, this ear is smelling, this ear is seeing. And thus, what happens? Their hearts become cleansed and you take your seat in their hearts. You're so merciful to your devotees and you manifest yourself in transcendence to anyone, all the devotees who are always thinking about you. You come here, you come to this universe, but you always remain transcendental and you care for your devotees in whatever form your devotees are thinking of you, you're ready to manifest. See, you reciprocate so nicely with demigods. These demigods, they want only material benefits. You're not very pleased with them, but you just give them the material gains. With devotees, you become very pleased because these devotees, they are sharing their mercy with everyone. Just like how Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all that he wanted to do is please Krishna, because Krishna told Arjuna, just fight thinking about me. Ma manusmara yudhyacha. So what did Arjuna do? Okay, Krishna, it is your order, your desire. I will just fight to please you. Like that, devotees, they don't think about their own benefit. They are just there to please you. So what do? You give your mercy. Now, there are other classes of people who are non-devotees. For them, generally, you're neutral. You're just unavailable. You're present as the Paramatma. They are like barren land. See, the Lord is Paramatma. He is equal to all. Sukridam sarva bhutanam nyatva mam shantim richati. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. He is neutral. But if the land is barren, how much ever seeds you put, there is no point. The crops will not come. So there are some people who are always averse to the Lord. They are atheistic. They are described to be like barren land. So to such people, Krishna just remains neutral and he waits when this person will look at him. So he tells the Lord, my dear Lord, there are so many different types of living entities, and all of them, you will benefit them in different ways, because any action that they offer to you always has transcendental benefit. Whether they are doing yajna, whether they are doing dana, whether they are doing tapa, whether they are doing devotional service, seva, whatever they do, you always take the good from them and you benefit them. So what happened so far? Brahma, he spoke about first the beauty of the Lord. Remember, he first began with glorification. Then he told the problem. He told about the predicament of the conditioned souls who are going to be in the universe. And then he tells that our problem, I know that there is a solution to the problem because you are very merciful. You reciprocate with all the different kinds of people. So everyone has hope. So he tells that as a leader, as a father, he's telling, yes, I think all the living entities have hope because you are so merciful. Then he begins to offer his obeisances to the Lord. He sings the glories of the Lord, saying how the Lord is present in so many different ways for our benefit. The Lord is present as the all-pervading Brahman. He's worshipped as he's worshipped by the Jnanis. This Supreme Lord who's pervading as the Brahma Jyoti, he's also present in his personal form as the enjoyer of rasa. Who's the enjoyer of rasa? Krishna is the Rasaraj, right? You all know Krishna is Rasaraj. But Garbhodakshay Vishnu also, he's having rasa. He's having rasa with the potency, with the material energy, his external potency. So Brahma is glorifying the Lord. You are that all-pervasive Brahman. You're also an enjoyer of rasa. You're here as Garbhodakshay Vishnu for me. Not only that, you are also so merciful that you're available through your holy names. Because the Lord has so many incarnations, and in all these incarnations, he's glorified by so many names. The names of the Lord is unlimited. It is just not the Sahasranam. There are so many names for the Lord. And all these names are given to the Lord on account of the activities that the Lord has performed. For example, when he was tied in the belly by Mother Yashoda, he came to be known as Damodar. When he lifted Govardhan, he came to be known as Govardhana Giridhari. Like that, the Lord is known by so many holy names, and he's available in various holy names. And if a person, even unconsciously, he chants the holy name of the Lord, he can be freed. Who's the best example for this? Who unconsciously, unintentionally chanted the holy name? Anybody? Yes, Bharat Prabhu.
Ajamil Mataji.
Ajamil, yes, wonderful. Wonderful. See how beautiful the Lord is present as Brahman. He's present as enjoyer, as the Rasaraj. He's also present as Garbhodakshay Vishnu. He's present as the holy names. And not only that, in that universe, because Brahma's concern is the universe. That's what he's worried about. So he says, in this universe, you are the cosmic tree. How is he the cosmic tree? Just like how a tree spreads through the entire region. Similarly, the Lord is the tree that is spread through all the 14 planetary systems. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that this entire material universe is an inverted banyan tree, right? 15th chapter, Purushottam Yoga. It's a description of this inverted banyan tree. So this material universe is described as a tree. And who's the source of that tree? The Lord himself. And he says that that tree has 3 trunks. One trunk is Vishnu, one trunk is Brahma, one trunk is Lord Shiva. But it is that main trunk, Vishnu, who truly expands through the entire area. Vishnu means one who's pervasive, actually. He spreads through everything. So he tells, you are the time factor. You are the powerful time. And all our plans are cut into pieces by the influence of time. Even me, Brahma says, I live only for 2 parardhas. So 2 parardhas are the 2 sections of the time of Brahma's life. And he says, even I am temporary. I'm constantly fearing the time factor that you are, that is controlled by you. So Brahma says, therefore, it is recommended that all of us do archana. All of us worship you at all points in time. From beginning to night, constantly, we should be engaged in utilizing time in Krishna consciousness. We start off with waking up the deities, taking care of the deities, doing our japa, and the entire day must be fixed in Krishna consciousness. That way, we do not have to fear your time factor. Then he tells, not only are you present as the universal tree and the time, you come in various incarnations, in various species of life. How compassionate. The Lord not only comes as a human, he not only comes as a demigod, he comes as a fish, he comes as a tortoise, he comes as a wild boar. He comes in so many forms in all species of life. He's always available for us. And he says, and you, especially, you're present right here. It looks at Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And he tells, and I was born from your navel. I just directly came out of you. You're sleeping in Yoga Nidra, but actually you're present for the welfare of this entire universe. So I request you, my dear Lord, please wake up. I am a servant. I'm here to perform service. That is my duty. I need your instructions. I need your mercy. Let me perform the Mangalarati for you. So it's a very beautiful way of offering obeisances and requesting the Lord to wake up. Why should the Lord wake up? The Lord should wake up so that Brahma gets empowered. So Brahma says, empower me because you are endowed with all 6 opulences. And I am a surrendered soul. I am surrendering unto you. So why don't you please empower me? And I have a problem. I have what is called as false ego. All living entities, the first thing we have is false ego, false prestige of being something. Here, imagine how much false prestige this Brahma should have. He's the creator of the entire universe. He's in charge of one full universe. To be in charge of one little town gives us so much pride. Or to be in charge of one temple, or to be in charge of one group of devotees can give us so much pride. But Brahma, he's the creator and he's in charge of the entire universe consisting of so many living entities. So there is a natural problem of false prestige. So he requests the Lord that please protect me from that problem. Anyone would like to read this verse? Any volunteers for this verse?
I can try, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Esha prapanna varado ramayatma shaktya yat yat karishyati grihita gunavataraha tasmin swavikramam idam shrajato picheto yunjita karma samalam cha yatha vijahyam. Hare Krishna.
The translation, Mataji, it's okay.
Oh, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of the surrendered souls. His activities are always enacted through his internal potency, Rama, or the goddess of fortune. I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world. And I pray that I not be materially affected by my work. For thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator. Hare Krishna.
It's a beautiful prayer, right? It is so relevant for him. It is not only relevant for him, it is relevant for us also, for everybody who's suffering from this problem of being the false in charge. Such a beautiful prayer. So he says, I'm surrendering. Esha Prapanna. And who are you? You are Varada. You're giving this benediction. And you are Ramayatma. You are enjoying with Rama Devi, who's your internal potency, Atma Shakti. So he requests the Lord, please help me so that I may be protected. He says, save me from deviation. See, when he was created itself, he had requested the Lord to save him from deviation. It is very easy to become deviated from the path of devotional service at any point in time. It is very easy. It is so tempting to become deviated, even to stay fixed in the path of devotional service, to be the servant of the Lord. One needs the mercy of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada, he writes something very important, which is so true for each one of us to apply. He says, the path of spiritual life is stated in the Vedas. It is stated where? In the Vedas. To be like what? To be like the edge of a sharpened razor. So you all have heard of this phrase, double-edged sword, right? Famous phrase. Yes, it is like a sharpened razor. A little inattentiveness may at once create havoc and bloodshed, but one who's completely a surrendered soul, always seeking protection from the Lord and the discharge of his entrusted duties, has no fear of falling into material contamination. Today only we heard this. What is being humble? Being surrendered is being humble. Unless we are surrendered to the Lord, completely surrendered to the Lord, we think we are in control. And there is every chance of getting deviated, because spiritual life is like that sharpened edge of the razor. Little inattentiveness can cause havoc and bloodshed unless we are surrendered to the Lord. So having said that, he tells the Lord, please wake up, because the Lord is in Yoga Nidra. He tells, bestow your benediction with your lotus-like eyes and remove my sorrow. The sidelong glance of the Lord can remove any amount of sorrow. Having offered his prayers and having put his request to the Lord, he becomes silent and he's very sad. The Lord is not responding. But looking at Brahma being depressed, the Lord wakes up and he begins to respond to Brahma in a deep voice, as if to dispel the illusion. So beautiful. The glance of the Lord is described. The glance of the Lord removes the sorrow, and his deep voice removes or dispels any sort of illusion. And how did Brahma hear the Lord? Brahma heard the Lord from within. The Lord spoke to Brahma from within. What did he tell Brahma? What was the reply of the Lord? He tells, my dear Brahma, don't be so anxious and depressed. I understand that everyone is tormented in this material universe by the modes of material nature. There are 3 modes of material nature. The 3 modes mix with each other in 3 different ways and they become 9. And the 9 again mix with the 9 and they become 81. Like that, this goes on. There are so many, innumerable number of living entities with different natures. Every single person is a mixture of several combinations of modes of material nature. So like that, there are so many combinations, so many modes, so many different kinds of species. And within each species, there are so many different kinds of living entities. I know the problem. Whatever you have been begging me, that is already granted. Just like how Arjuna, when he was in Kurukshetra, Krishna told him, Arjuna, all that you have to do is shoot the arrows. All of them are already killed. They're already, when he showed his Vishwarupa, he said, see, look at this. Everyone is entering into my mouth. Everyone is dead and they're all entering into my body, he was telling. So like that, Vishnu tells Brahma, don't worry, the task is already completed. And whatever you're begging for my mercy for creation, that has already been granted. How? Because the tapa and the vidya that you did, meaning the austerities and the knowledge that you have had, that you have acquired from me, that gives ashraya. If you have proper tapa and vidya, you will automatically seek the mercy of the Lord, and the Lord will give his ashraya to you. So you will, through my mercy, understand how to create. You will know the position of planets. You will understand what kind of species to create and place them in which part of the universe. You have bhakti. This bhakti gives transcendental vision. You will be able to see you in the universe and all living entities, and see yourself, the universe and living entities in me. So the Lord is present everywhere. You all know he's within and without. Very, very famous Upanishadic terms. The Lord is inside and he's outside, and he is within and without, and he's near and far. So this is one of those verses that talks about the inconceivable nature. See me in you and universe and all living entities. See yourself, the universe, and the living entities in me. And we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur who comes here and tells, actually, this is an indication of Brahma Vimohan Leela. Because what happened in Brahma Vimohan Leela? Brahma Vimohan Leela, actually, Brahma saw Vishnu everywhere, right? In all living entities. He saw that all the cowherds and all everybody, the calves, everyone turned into Krishna. What happened in Yashoda's case? Yashoda saw the entire universe in Krishna, and inside Krishna's mouth, she saw herself seeing Krishna. So that this verse that Brahma speaks is very relatable to these two Leelas, the Brahma Vimohan Leela and Yashoda, seeing the universe in Krishna's mouth. Yeah, so now Brahma says, the Lord says that since my potency is distributed everywhere, the devotee of mine, that is a pure devotee, can see everything in relationship with me. So it is not very difficult for you to see everything in relationship with me. And you will become immune to all contamination in such a way that a pure devotee never forgets the touch of the Lord in all circumstances. So he looks at Brahma and he tells, my dear Brahma, so just give up this bodily conception. Once you give up the bodily conception, you will come to the right realization. You will realize your Swarupa very soon, and you will be fixed in a proper relationship with me. So he tells that, and he gives specific instructions to Brahma. He tells, expand your service, keep doing devotional service. That way you will attract my mercy. Let Rajoguna not blind you. Okay, he tells this, he gives this instruction. And he tells Rajoguna will not blind you. He in fact gives assurance that I will give you mercy and I will not let Rajoguna blind you. Although you are engaged in creation, that requires a lot of passion. To engage in creating something, you need passion. It is not possible without engaging in Rajoguna to create something. But Krishna or Vishnu is giving a boon here. He's telling Brahma, though you would be engaged in creation, that is a factor of Rajoguna. You will not be blinded by Rajoguna. Now, was Brahma blinded by Rajoguna? Did he do something later after the creation was over? Anybody?
Yes, Mataji.
What did he do?
Vak. He went after Vak.
Huh?
He went after Mother Saraswati.
That okay. Then what is
Rajoguna?
in Krishna Leela? What did he do?
In Lord Krishna's pastimes, we're talking about Brahma Vimohan Leela then.
Brahma Leela,
Yeah.
right?
He hid all the cowherd boys.
So in both these cases, it appears that Vishnu has given a guarantee that Rajogun will not blind you. I will protect you. You will not fall down. False ego will not bewilder you. He's giving all these promises, right? But it appears that Brahma is a victim to all of these problems. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains this is all to further his advancement in transcendental service. Using Brahma as an example, he teaches the world. The Lord teaches the world. And not only that, when a devotee is put into such circumstances of apparent deviation, okay, it is not that he's a fallen devotee or something like that. It appears that Brahma himself has been blinded. When it appears like that, why does he do that? So that Brahma can advance further in transcendental devotional service. Just imagine how beautiful the Brahma Vimohan Leela was. After Brahma was bewildered, his love, devotion, and appreciation for Krishna increased. He was glorifying Krishna. The prayers in the 10th canto are so beautiful. They have so much more love compared to the prayers that are being told now. Now it is mostly, okay, we are all in a bad condition. Please give me mercy and may I create. That is the mood. But what happens after Brahma Vimohan Leela? There is so much rasa. He's enjoying the pastimes of the Lord, and he's very lovingly talking about the pastimes of the Lord. So the whole scenario changes. So even though the Lord is giving a promise, if he's apparently showing that Brahma is covered by Rajogun, or if he's having some deviation, it is only for the advancement of Brahma in his transcendental service. This is how Prabhupada explains that. Anyhow, so the Lord tells Brahma, unknowable becomes known though false ego is present. I manifest within you, my causeless mercy alone will be there. And if you have spiritual eyes, you will be able to tap into my causeless mercy. He gives all these bones. He tells you will come to know everything. You may have this ego. Every living entity may have a false ego. But by my mercy, all the unknowable will become known to you. I will manifest from within you. I will give you my mercy. And with the spiritual eye, you will be able to realize me. Then he tells Brahma, I'm very pleased with your prayers. You offered beautiful prayers. Bhadram te. Same thing he did. In the second canto also we see. The Lord goes and shakes his hand, right? This is the third canto. In the second canto, when he Chatushloki, that time what happens? The Lord goes and shakes hands with Brahma and he tells Bhadram te. Here also he says, Bhadram te, I'm very pleased with you. Let all auspiciousness be unto you. And then he tells a Palashruti for this entire section. The Lord himself, who's Vareshwara, the greatest of all boon givers, he says, I will fulfill all the desires of anyone who prays like you. Anyone who recites these prayers of Brahma from the third canto, or in the same mood as Brahma, in a mood of surrender, for them all the desires will be fulfilled. Then he tells Brahma, I am indeed the ultimate dearest object. Aham atmananam data preshta san preyasamapi ato mayi ratim kuryat dehadir krite priya. I am the super soul of every individual. I am the supreme director and the dearest. People are wrongly attached to gross and subtle bodies, but they should indeed be attached to me only. So if they are attached to me, they will be free. So he tells Brahma, okay, Brahma, everything is good. Now you create all the living entities from the body of Vedic wisdom by following the instructions that I have given you. Having said this, the Lord then disappeared. So here is the summary of Lord's instructions. I told you in the beginning, first I will summarize the prayers, then I will summarize the instructions. So these are the instructions that we saw, what the Lord gave. The Lord told Brahma, follow penance and devotion, then you will receive everything. You will be able to see everything in real relation to me. He tells him, don't be anxious. Attain mercy by penance and perseverance, and have this transcendental vision. Be an absorbed devotee. And he tells him about the state of attaining the Lord. The second part, 34 to 40, talks about his mercy, and he assures him that all the benedictions are given to him. He assures Brahma that I'm giving you all the benedictions. My mercy on you will increase. Rajogun will not blind you. You understood me because you know that my form is transcendental. I manifested within you as the super soul. It was me within you when you were searching. my causeless mercy on you that you have offered prayers. I'm very pleased with your prayers, and all your desires will be fulfilled for anyone who prays like you. And then he tells him, I am in fact the dearmost of all living entities. I'm the ultimate goal, and I am the ultimate dearest object. All that you have to do is follow my instructions that I have imparted within your heart. Just take it and execute your task. So with this, we end this chapter. Brahma prays, he receives boons, and he receives instructions from the Lord. So we'll stop here. Any questions, realizations, additions, corrections? Please go.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a wonderful, very, very sweet class. You highlighted what's most important in the prayers of Lord Brahma, what the mood should be. And, all of our fallacies and how the Lord, because we always feel like, I am the one who is doing this, I am doing that, I am doing this. We can never attribute anything to the Lord easily. So, yeah, thank you so much for such a wonderful class. I request all the devotees, I'm so sorry for all the noise, Mataji, but I request all the devotees, if you have any questions or realizations, please raise your hand. Hare Krishna, Bharat Prabhu, please go.
Yes, Bharat Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thanks for the nice class, Mataji. Mataji, like Brahmaji is such a good devotee and he was given such a great responsibility and he also fulfilled that responsibility. So like we worship all the devotees of Lord Krishna. So like for Brahmaji, like in Pushkar we have one temple and we don't have temples for Brahmaji and it is worship once a year, I think. Means. So why it so means?
Because two things. One is Brahma is engaged in creation, meaning he's engaged in creation and it's a very important duty to execute. So it is recommended we don't disturb him. That is one answer. The second answer is that he's also a jiva like us. That we should not forget. Of course, he's the topmost jiva, no doubts. He's also a jiva like us. Generally, Vishnu and Lord Shiva have temples. Vishnu is the supreme Lord, and Shiva is a transformation of the supreme. He's neither a jiva, he's not Vishnu either. He's not the supreme, like ultimate supreme either. So he's what is called a Shiva Tattva. So he's an Ishvara, he's a controller. So both Ishvara, controller of this universe, as well as Vishnu are generally worshipped. When it comes to Brahma is considered the first jiva. He doesn't have Ishvara qualities. He's the first jiva. Of course, he's a Gunavatar in one sense, or Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, they're all Gunavatars, right? That is accepted. But generally, he's a jiva. Secondly, his task is such that we are recommended not to disturb. Thirdly, of course, they also speak about a curse that Brahma had received, that he will not be worshipped in any temples. And this is not directly there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is there in other Puranas in relation to the story of Bhrigu Muni going and testing the three forms of the three deities, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, where he was cursed that he will not have any temple. So these three are the answers, Prabhu. You can take a combination of all these answers.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, also like like we do devotional service daily, so then also we get agitated very easily by the modes of material nature or other works that we have. So like we are not so strong in devotion, like we easily get agitated. So what can be done on this part?
I know I am the first one to be a victim of get very easily agitated. What can we do? We can consciously correct ourselves and surrender to the Lord again and correct our mistakes. That's the only thing we can do. But we are in this material world. As long as we are in this material world, the modes of material nature are attacking us. But yes, by constantly taking shelter of Krishna, that is what we read the whole chapter. We have to keep taking shelter of Krishna and understand that these are all most of the situations why we are getting angry or why we are getting upset, whatever it is on a very mundane level. In one sense, it is external. It is not really related to the soul. It is all on a bodily platform. So the knowledge, like Brahma has also told, right? Jnana and tapa actually help. The knowledge that, not the impersonal knowledge, the knowledge that is aligned with the devotional service. Understanding who we are, understanding our relationship with Krishna, understanding the greatness of Krishna, understanding the importance of surrender. All this will eventually help us get over our anarthas that we are having, but it's a slow process. But we should have faith. If we have faith and surrender, it will work out by Krishna's means. Okay.
Yeah, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Rajeshwari Mataji, welcome.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Sorry, I have been missing these classes and finally I could connect with Kirtida Sundari Mataji and then I could connect with today's class. And thank you very much for the wonderful class, Mataji. It is very great, very nice revision for us. It is. Thank you, Mataji, summarizing everything. Mataji, I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One is you were explaining that modes of material nature is multiplied. Could you kindly explain it once again and could you kindly text the even reference for that, Mataji?
You mean to say 3 and 3, 9, 9 and 9, 18?
Mataji. Yes.
Itself, Prabhupada has done the calculation in the purport. So I will send you this entire verse. Yeah, shall I send it in the chat, Mataji? 9, okay.
Sorry, Mataji. As soon as we leave the Zoom, it will just go. You can post it in the group.
I'll put it in the group. So you are there on a group, right? She told me she added you in a group.
Yes, Mataji. Kirtida Sundari Mataji has added me today.
Yes, I will put it there so that you all can see how Prabhupada calculates.
And Mataji, the second question was, we all know that when we fall down from the Vaikuntha, we all get the position of the Brahma. And then later we fall down to the position, to the ant position also. So usually being in such a Dasya Rasa with Krishna and being so pure devotee, and how that, fall down takes place from the Brahma. Or usually even we read that Brahma after the Pralaya, Mahapralaya, he takes all the most of the living entities of the Satyaloka to the Vaikuntha at the end of the Mahapralaya. But in spite of these all things, how that fall down happens from Brahma's position to ant, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know that's a very good, brilliant question, actually, I should say, because generally it should not happen. But they say that 3 different possibilities. They give us 3 different possibilities. One is there can be some Brahmas do not see. It's of course these are all different possibilities. So most of the Brahmas at the end of the life of Brahma, they all get transported to the spiritual world along with the residents of Satyaloka. Sometimes there is also a fall down and the Brahma becomes a living entity in a lower species of life. It is all possible. It depends on how much devotional service, faith and surrender that is there at that point in time through that 100 years of Brahma. What happens during that time? So nothing is a guarantee. Just like, we say in the higher planetary systems, these 3 gunas are always there. When we talk about the fall down of even demigods, why do they have this? Because the 3 modes of material nature are acting even up till the higher planetary systems. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma bhuvana lokanam punaravartinoan Arjuna mamupetyata kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. Up to the Brahma's planet, there can be rotation within the different planets in the universe. It is highly possible. But yes, the general thing is when you are living and when you are such an advanced devotee, you are Brahma and you are probably the greatest of the demigods, such lower modes should not engulf you. But there is no guarantee. That is how the modes of material nature, that is how everyone's individuality is. It depends on the individuality. Like look at, we say devotees, right? All of us. Every devotee has an individuality. for each person, though everyone is practicing Krishna consciousness, everybody is trying to please the Lord, everyone is doing some devotional service or the other. Everyone in general is expected to be sattvic. We are following sattvic habits. Everyone is sattvic to a great extent. But even within devotees, there is a mixture of the three gunas. Some people are more rajasic than sattvic. Some people are more tamasic. Some people are more sattvic than rajasic. So there is a combination of all of these. So similarly, even in the higher planetary systems, they are not exempt from this. Though generally when we say demigods means they are supposed to be in the mode of goodness, but nobody is exempt. So anything can happen is the point. As long as we are here. Like Prabhupada says, that sharp razor edge, that's what it is. Unfortunately, it can happen, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you.
And also the other thing that is the truth is that these are, it's not that there was only one Brahma, two Brahmas, or three Brahmas. So many Brahmas have been there. And in so many Brahmandas, so many multitude of universes. So you can imagine the countless number of Brahmas and the countless number of either advancement or fall downs that can happen. Did that possibly make you feel better?
Okay, Mataji. Thank you. Dandavata. Mataji, I have one more question. May I ask? But it is not related to this summary, but very last class which Kirtida Sundari Mataji was taking, I heard it offline.
Sure, Mataji.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, actually, that verse describes that Brahma looks at the four sides of the dik, I mean, direction. So because of that, he got the four heads. So how to understand that, other Brahmandas, they have got Brahma, different, number of heads they have. So is that only looking at the dik he got four heads, or how is it, Mataji?
It depends also on the size of the universe. You must have heard this, right, Mataji? It also depends on the size of the universe. Our Brahmanda is 400 billion some yojana something. So our Brahma has four heads. So imagine if there is, how to say this? I'm just thinking of, so I'm getting this example in my mind. See if it is, if you're able to relate to this. When Lord Ramchandra was fighting with 14,000 demons, Karadushana, you've heard of that story, right? He was fighting with the demons in Janasthan, the Rakshasas in Janasthan, Karadushan, all of them. At that time, Valmiki describes that there was only one Ram, okay? But it appeared that one Ram, he single-handedly fought with 14,000 demons in Janasthan, like as if there were 14,000 Rams. So he was just so quick and so agile that it was like a lightning that was moving around, fighting with the 14,000 demons. So what I'm trying to tell here is Brahma has to look around in four directions. He's looking around in four directions. The expanse of the universe determines the head, how much he has to look around. If the universe was much bigger in so many more dimensions, he had to probably look in 8 directions or even 10 directions, or maybe there are 20, 25 directions that he had to look around depending on the expanse of the universe, and hence so many heads. Was that okay, Mataji? It's something you have to imagine.
Thank you, Mataji. It makes sense. Correct.
And I put this this answer to the question that you asked, verse number. This is 3.9.27 and 28 text number. That's where Prabhupada gives the calculation. Okay. I put it in the chat, Mataji.
Ha, Mataji, I'll take a note of it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
3.9.28. You can see this verse. Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, so we can end here. Thank you all so much for your attention. And we'll meet again next week with the next chapter. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa.
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हर ग्रेस प्रीति विलासिनी माता जी की जय।